Imagine a father who sees his own son not as a human being with feelings and individuality, but as an interchangeable piece, a necessary tool on a cosmic chessboard of incomprehensible proportions. What would drive someone to such a depth of detachment, to such calculated coldness that permeates every interaction? Behind Gendo Ikari's expressionless eyes and rigid posture lies a mind entangled in a complex of obsessions and unresolved grief. He is a man whose journey is guided by a singular, relentless objective, to reunite with his wife, Yui, who disappeared under mysterious and transformative circumstances. Prepare to unravel the intricate layers of a man who, instead of processing his pain, transformed it into a driving force to manipulate events on a global scale, and whose unresolved grief shaped an apocalyptic destiny for humanity. What you are about to witness is a deep dive into the shadows of the human soul, an exploration of an individual's capacity to suppress pain to the point of distorting their own reality and that of everyone around them. At the heart of a dystopian future, where humanity constantly faces the threat of colossal and enigmatic beings, emerges the imposing, yet always enigmatic, figure of Gendo Ikari. He commands an ERV, a complex and highly secret organization, tasked with Earth's protection. However, amidst this grand mission, Gendo's behavior remains a constant enigma for those around him and for the viewer. His demeanor is invariably distant, his voice a whisper of calculated orders, devoid of any human warmth. The absence of affection is palpable, notably in his relationship with his son, Shinji, whom he treats with an almost instrumental coldness. For Gendo, every action, every word spoken, is a meticulously planned step towards a larger, almost mystical goal, driven by an overwhelming loss, the inexplicable and transformative disappearance of his wife, Yui. NERV, although presented as humanity's last bastion of defense, reveals itself, in truth, as a cauldron of top-secret experiments and hidden agendas. Gendo is the grand architect behind it all, the master alchemist who manipulates figures and events with astonishing precision. The environment is one of extreme pressure, where the faint hope of humanity intertwines and blurs with the obscure and deeply personal ambitions of one man. The psychology of emotional dissociation begins to manifest prominently here. Gendo seems to have disconnected from his own emotions, compartmentalizing pain and vulnerability to bear the weight of his reality and his complex designs. The pain of loss led him to such profound compartmentalization that empathy, especially towards Shinji, seems to have been eradicated. He operates like a machine, seeking efficiency and control above all else. But there was something no one saw coming. The true trigger for Gendo Ikari's complex transformation lies in a catastrophic and deeply personal event, the mysterious loss of Yui. The way he deals with this absence differs radically from the conventional grieving process. Instead of allowing himself to experience and process the overwhelming pain, Gendo chooses to encapsulate it, to use it as fuel for his grand and meticulously planned schemes. This personal tragedy drives him to a frantic search for absolute control, a belief that only through precise manipulation of future events can he reverse or, somehow, overcome what happened, achieving an impossible reunification. Unprocessed grief then manifests not as sadness, but as a relentless obsession to rewrite destiny and reshape reality itself. Internally, Gendo wages a silent and relentless battle, where cold, calculating logic overrides and suffocates any remnant of affection, compassion, or tenderness. Externally, his relationship with Shinji, his only son, deteriorates alarmingly. Shinji, being the living, palpable memory of Yui, ironically becomes a constant source of discomfort and friction for Gendo, a vivid reminder of the vulnerability he so much abhors and seeks to eradicate from his own existence. This transformation is a profound study of the defense mechanism of denial taken to a pathological extreme. Gendo not only denies the reality of Yui's loss but also the searing pain associated with it, replacing it with an relentless pursuit of a higher purpose, a project that transcends common understanding. Psychology explains that denial, while it can be protective in the short term to cushion a shock, can lead to severe distortions of reality and dysfunctional interpersonal behaviors when it becomes a prolonged pattern. And that's where everything began to crumble, not just for Gendo, but for the world he sought to shape. Gendo's mind, once merely saturated by the pain of loss, now transforms into an intricate labyrinth of complex strategies and calculated manipulations. Every decision he makes is meticulously planned, every interaction with those around him is a carefully positioned piece in a cosmic chess game. He views others, including his own son, as mere pawns, disposable instruments in his relentless pursuit. His statements are always brief, direct, devoid of any trace of emotion or empathy, except when the topic turns to his unwavering obsession with Yui. He comes to believe, with an almost religious conviction, that the Human Instrumentality Project, an event of cosmic and transformative proportions, is the only way to reunite with her and, somehow, transcend the unbearable pain of individual existence. To truly penetrate and understand this complex mind, we can draw a powerful analogy with tunnel vision in psychology. Gendo is so singularly focused on his ultimate goal, the realization of instrumentality and his consequent reunion with Yui, that all other aspects of life, including his son's emotional and physical well-being, the conventional survival of humanity, and even his own mental health, become completely irrelevant or secondary. His capacity for empathy is brutally atrophied, and morality is redefined and subverted under the pragmatic and ruthless lens of his mission. He justifies his most questionable and ethically dubious actions as necessary sacrifices for a greater good, a supreme purpose that, ultimately, is his own redemption and the annihilation of his pain. But the true monster, the fullest and most terrifying manifestation of his obsession, was still dormant, awaiting the right moment to emerge and consume everything. The ultimate act of transgression, the moment Gendo Ikari crosses the line of no return, occurs when he decides that the grandest ends absolutely justify any means, regardless of the human, psychological, or existential cost. He does not hesitate to manipulate Shinji, exposing him to extreme situations, forcing him to face unimaginable dangers, and even using him as an unwitting catalyst for his most audacious and disturbing plans. There is no going back for Gendo, his worldview is irremediably distorted, subverted by his obsession. The pain that once propelled him has now become the force that blinds him completely to the devastating consequences of his actions. He has transformed from a military leader into the architect of a future that threatens to obliterate humanity's very individuality in pursuit of his own reunion and the annihilation of his pain. We explore morality and ethics from Gendo's unique and disturbing perspective. He rationalizes every decision, every manipulation, every sacrifice, as a cosmic imperative, an inescapable necessity to achieve his goal. He never sees himself as a villain or a tyrant, but rather as a visionary, a catalyst for a new era, shaped by his pain and his relentless pursuit. This plunges us into a profoundly unsettling moral dilemma: what if he is right, in some way, within his own distorted logic? Is it possible that, within his own framework of twisted beliefs, Gendo truly believes he is acting for a greater good, even if that good is incomprehensible, cruel, and unattainable for most people? Could his quest for reunion simply be an extreme form of grief that, instead of being processed, has transmuted into a pathology of absolute control and universal manipulation? In this chapter, we delve deeper into the psychological analysis and scientific principles that, in some way, underpin and lend a perverse logic to Gendo Ikari's actions. His apparent coldness and lack of emotion can be understood as an extreme case of affective blunting, a psychological defense mechanism in which a person drastically and unconsciously diminishes the intensity of their own emotions to cope with deep and unbearable trauma. This does not imply a total absence of emotion, but rather a suppression so severe that emotional expression and the capacity for empathetic connection become practically impossible. His logic is that of a military strategist taken to an extreme, applied not only to battle tactics but to the very existential sphere of humanity. Studies on complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, although Gendo does not receive a formal diagnosis, can offer surprising and revealing parallels. Prolonged exposure to intense traumatic events and chronic difficulty in processing complex and painful emotions can lead to excessive control behavior, a severe distortion of reality, and a rigidly focused worldview. Gendo is not insane in the traditional sense. He is, in fact, hyperrational, his mind operating with impeccable, yet dehumanizing, logic. His quest for reunion with Yui is not a delusion or a fantasy, it is a pragmatic goal, the culmination of his existence, within his own framework of distorted beliefs. We can draw comparisons to historical figures who sacrificed individuality and freedom in the name of a greater vision, or to other fictional characters consumed by an obsession so powerful that it became their own ruin and the ruin of everything around them. Everything fits, with terrifying coldness. It wasn't madness. It was cold, but relentless, calculation. What remains after the monumental plans of Gendo Ikari are consummated is a world irrevocably transformed, a reality reshaped by his ambition. Individuality itself is challenged and dissolved, the boundaries of existence are questioned and redefined. The Human Instrumentality Project, his grand and terrifying objective, redefines the very notion of humanity, leading to a fusion of all consciences, an annihilation of the individual self in favor of a larger unity. The chaos he generated is not merely destructive, it is, in his distorted view, a radical attempt at a new beginning, a legacy of his pain transmuted into a new and terrifying form of existence, where separation and individual suffering are, theoretically, eradicated. We discussed the real and fictional consequences of his actions, the dissolution of personal barriers, the union of all souls into a single collective entity. This raises a profoundly unsettling philosophical and moral reflection: who are we to judge someone's search for relief from pain, however extreme, costly, and universally impactful that search may be? Gendo's trajectory forces us, uncomfortably, to confront the price of unprocessed grief, repressed vulnerability, and how internal pain can shape not only an individual's destiny but an entire reality, leading it to a point of no return. He sought an end to his suffering, and in that process, he reshaped existence itself. But perhaps, he wasn't the last to seek this reunion in such a devastating and radical way. The cycle might just be beginning. The complex and dark saga of Gendo Ikari concludes, but the profound reflections on unprocessed grief, relentless denial, and the overwhelming pursuit of control remain, echoing in the viewer's mind. Gendo teaches us a brutal lesson: pain, when not faced, not processed, and not accepted, can transform into a distorted and terrifying force, capable of redefining the destiny of an entire world and the very foundations of existence. His journey is a dark and disturbing mirror of the deepest recesses of the human psyche, a vivid reminder that the shadows we carry within us can come at an unimaginable cost, not just to ourselves, but to everyone around us. Gendo, in his essence, did not seek power for power's sake, he sought an end to his own existential anguish, and in that process, he confronted us with the most painful and complex essence of the human condition. The unsettling question that lingers at the end is, what would you be willing to do, to sacrifice, to fill a void as deep as his?